A man walks out of his front door to his death. Ahead tonight, details of the 91st murder on record for the year.
Also ahead, the course road traffic is taking on the path to road safety.
Plus, it was lights out island-wide today. Ahead, how BEC is explaining itself this time. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keish Latterly.
And I'm Kendino Knowles. Thanks for joining us.
Topping the news tonight, a man scheduled to go on trial for armed robbery this week was shot and killed in an early morning ambush. 29-year-old Lamar Roberts was chased down and fired upon as he walked out the front door of his Pinewood Gardens home around 6:30 this morning.
When police arrived on the scene, they found the victim lying lifeless in a pool of blood. Tonight, they're trying to determine a motive and get to the bottom of the 91st murder on record this year. Altavis Munnings has more.
Police had to literally direct traffic and control the crowd gathering at the Pinewood roundabout early Monday morning while detectives conducted their initial investigation into the country's latest murder. Authorities confirmed that sometime around 6:30 Monday morning, the victim was reportedly shot outside his Bamboo Street home in Pinewood Gardens. Officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, said they found the victim lying in a yard right off Pigeon Plum Street.
What we know so far is that just shortly to this call, the male exited his home to go into the yard for some reason when persons who apparently were parked nearby exited we believe to be a charcoal Suzuki Jeep. One of the occupants pursued the male and began discharging shots at him as he ran, and the second male got out and continued with that pursuit until he collapsed where we found him here a short while ago.
Would it be safe to say then he had just gotten out of bed and came outside or to investigate something?
Yeah, well, we know he came outside. I can't say whether he just got out of bed. I know he came outside around 6:30 this morning.
Superintendent Roll revealed that authorities found the victim with a bare back in a small pool of blood. We were only able to glimpse the victim's legs. Now, when asked if the homicide can be described as an execution-style shooting, Superintendent Roll only labeled it as fatal. Family members informed ZNS News that the victim is 29-year-old Lamar Roberts of Bamboo Street. Our police sources informed us that Roberts was allegedly ordered to sign into the East Street Police Station on a regular basis, and he was reportedly expected to stand trial in an armed robbery Supreme Court case Monday morning.
Yeah, let us try and determine first of all whether in fact he was scheduled for court and whether in fact he was a witness. That I'm unable to say to you, but let us do this investigation, and we're treating this as a homicide. And we will investigate and try to find the persons responsible for doing this.
Detectives have been very careful to classify this homicide as a murder. In the meantime, though, police need your help with any information they can get to solve this case. If you can assist police, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. You can also call the Central Detective Unit at 502-9991, or you can always call or visit your nearest police station. Altavis Munnings, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, the jury was discharged today in that armed robbery trial involving this morning's murder victim, who was identified as 29-year-old Lamar Roberts. Roberts and his co-accused, Theophilus Lloyd, are charged with robbing Seymour Witt of an assortment of jewelry and cash back in September 2010. However, under these circumstances, Justice Bernard Turner discharged the jury. He also offered condolences to Roberts' family, noting the country cannot afford to have persons meet their demise in this way.
Police have filed charges against 18-year-old Bernard Taylor and a 15-year-old male in connection with the October 25th murder of Verona. They're also accused of robbing Verona of his wallet, which contained some $700. In court, the duo was not required to enter a plea to the charge. A voluntary bill of indictment is expected to be filed. Bail was denied in the case. Following the arraignment, Taylor and the teen both complained through their attorneys that they were beaten while in police custody. Their allegations, which were noted by the court.
The Coconut Grove Business League was given the green light today by the appellate court to take its case to the London-based Privy Council. You may recall that former Supreme Court Justice Neville Adderley ruled earlier that the government could be liable for damages to business persons who suffered profit losses after the reversal of the traffic flow along Blue Hill Road and Market Streets back in 2010. However, the decision was overturned on appeal. Following today's appellate court proceedings, President of the Business League, Arnold Hasty, said this latest move provides hope for over-the-hill business owners who are a part of the league.
A traffic victim recounted his harrowing pre-graduation car crash as the Ministry of Transport launched Road Safety Month today. Our Charisma Robinson tells us more about the unfortunate episode and how officials plan to take their new intensified campaign to the masses to help curb high traffic fatality numbers nationwide.
On March 3, 2009, a routine morning school run turned into a horrible nightmare for Jacqueline Ford and her 16-year-old son, Ronaldo Gibson. The teen was a 12th grader at Doris Johnson High School at the time, and he was preparing for graduation. Ronaldo and his mom believe speed was a factor in this case, particularly since the accident happened in the middle of a school zone.
Even though fighting in court, nothing came out of the case, mentally, at times it leaves me very distraught. Because it's like knocking down an animal, and not looking back.
I thank God that I'm still here, and ever since the accident, I've really been blessed, and I look at everything as a blessing these days, the small things and the big things.
Ms. Ford says she was pulling out from this breakfast stand on that morning when she was struck by a vehicle traveling eastbound on Prince Charles Drive.
The next thing I knew, when I came to a bit, I was drenched in blood, and then I didn't see Ronaldo in the vehicle. And when I looked, managed to look on the passenger side, there Ronaldo was lying on the ground, gasping for breath.
Ronaldo, who is now 21, was in hospital for 2 years and 8 months and is confined to a wheelchair. However, he remains optimistic that he will walk again. He is appealing to road users and pedestrians to be very careful.
Well, to drivers, I'd like to say, always pay attention and look out for others around you.
His message coincides with that of the Ministry of Transport's new campaign, Draw the Line. So far for the year, traffic officials report that there have been 45 fatalities, 9 females and 36 males. Transport Minister Glenys Hannah Martin says these numbers pose a serious public health issue.
We're in a situation where we ought to now, every driver should be fully cognizant of what the risk factors are on our streets. Alcohol, speed, overtaking in dangerous circumstances, pushing your way through in big vehicles, and all of these sorts of things create very risky circumstances. Pedestrians not crossing in a way that they are not fully circumspect about their own safety. We say in the Bahamas, a pedestrian ain't got no bumper. But the way some pedestrians behave, you would think they believe they do.
Hannah Martin says the launch of the Draw the Line program is the beginning of a sustained public education effort, as the goal is to drastically reduce the number of traffic fatalities in the Bahamas. Charisma Robinson, ZNS Network News.
Well, exactly what was to blame for the island-wide power outage today? Well, BEC officials say the cause is still being investigated. Teams were dispatched immediately after the outage around 9 this morning, and by 11:30, BEC officials say power was restored. The corporation apologizes for the inconvenience caused and assures that an investigation is being carried out to prevent the likelihood of future incidents.
In our first look at weather, the countdown to the closure of the tropical cyclone season continues. 26 days to be exact remaining in the season. But outside of our studios, we have cloudy skies, your temperature 77 degrees, relative humidity 79%. Your winds are out of the east at 18 knots, barometric pressure 1,014.6 millibars. That's 29.96 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the family violence, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, still to come tonight, some tips in fashion design. Find out how you can make your own bag.
And the local Red Cross preparing for its biggest fundraiser. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news is brought to you by Lux Men's Warehouse.